This is Ros Jones, your business coach with my weekly podcast show, Bold Business Bits, coming to you from Yorkshire. This is where I have a great conversation with a phenomenal female business boss. We share some of the bold stuff they do, lessons they've learnt, adversities they've overcome, and the fun they have. And then I'll be dipping into my toolkit and sharing a top tip. Business can be lonely, so make sure you join us each week and be part of our show. So hello and welcome. This is Ros Jones and this is the Bold Business Bits podcast show. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Vicky Clapham, MD and founder of Vicky Marketing. Hi Vicky.
Hi Ros, hi.
Hello. It's lovely to see you today. And I would love you to share with us how you came to be the MD and founder of Vicky Marketing, because I know that wasn't always the case.
No, it wasn't always the plan, to have my own business. I didn't feel for a long time that I was an entrepreneur or someone who wanted to run their own business and be self-employed. That wasn't ever my goal, really. From university, I'd gone into corporate world and had marketing jobs that I'd really enjoyed and moved from various positions and up the career ladder, if you like, into various different industries, and really enjoyed it. Like I feel really fortunate actually that I'd had some really great jobs, worked for some really great companies and teams, and had some incredibly influential and positive influences on my life in terms of managers and bosses. So that was, everything was great. Really loving my career. I'd done doing my CPD and really kind of developing my own marketing knowledge. Like I'd done all the Chartered Institute of Marketing qualifications and various other things. Did
you do that at the same time as working?
Yeah. And actually, it made me laugh actually, because after university, I started doing the CIM stuff, and I was working full time, and obviously going to it was Bradford Uni for a time, and then I went to Leeds College, and I felt like I was doing more hours outside of work studying than I did actually when I was at university full time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it was incredible. But yeah, I did it, went there twice a week, 2 nights a week and whatever. And so I did all that. And then basically I had my first child, Elizabeth, and when I was working corporately, and I really, that was fine. We juggled it and managed it. And I thought, well, this super mum, do you know what I mean? That we're kind of having this career, having this child, everything was great. And then I got pregnant with my second when Elizabeth was like 4. And I was okay, but I think I was a bit denial. And then it got to the point of having Ben. And I thought, oh my God, how am I gonna be able to manage this career working in the confines of a normal corporate life and the hours and that involves, and having 2 children and being active and present and doing what I need to do. And it was a real kind of moment really, when I was basically no shit moment, because I thought I can't continue doing what I'm doing, I don't think. And it was pre-COVID and very much the way of work now in terms of work-life balance and encouraging flexible working and working from home, it just wasn't, I don't think, anywhere near as advanced it should have been. And this is only 4.5 years ago, whatever. So I just felt, at that point I didn't really have much choice in terms of what I was going to do with my career. Either I kind of take a step back, and people do choose to do that, I have a career break, and that's great. But I didn't really want to do that. I didn't feel like I were, I really enjoy working. It's part of who I am. And it's definitely something I didn't want to give up completely at all.
Because you'd risen quite high up, you were quite senior, weren't you?
I was marketing director at that point for a media company. And it was, I really enjoyed it. It was stressful at times, and it was a bit full on because it was a startup, and but it was really good. I went to my own groove, and I had a great team, and just really enjoyed it. But I just knew that, I always thought if I had a second child, I don't think I would be able to keep up the momentum that I kept up. Do you know what I mean? So basically it was kind of either career break or potentially maybe a lower level role working part-time, which again, I didn't think I could do that like consciously like go into that space, because I thought I've been the one making all the decisions, I've been the one doing all the leading. I really didn't think I was in a place where then I could have someone telling me how to do all that, do you know? Like I just thought, oh, I'm probably too hot-headed and stubborn and got my own kind of ways of working to be able to do that. So really the only other choice I kind of thought at the time was going self-employed and starting my own kind of agency, you know, working freelance, that kind of thing. I didn't really know anything about it at all. But at the time, one of my ex-colleagues, after I'd been on maternity probably about 6-7 months, they had a project come up and they needed some marketing consultancy and support. And that kind of paved the way then. It almost made the decision for me. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't think I'd have done it totally solely myself. Do you know what I mean? If I'd not have had something to go into, if you know what I mean, like, you know. And I think that's always the fear, isn't it, of launching your own business and things like, you know, you're starting from zero, aren't you, really? You've got to make your own money, your own business. And I think because I had that first project that was, you know, going to be like, you know, 3 to 6 months or whatever, I kind of thought, well, at least I've got something set up there, do you know what I mean, for me to see how it goes. And maybe by that point I'll have a better understanding how I can balance this life that I've got now, you know, with the 2 young children and married and all that business. So yeah, that was how BVIC was born, basically, and how it all started. And I haven't looked back.
Fantastic. And so how did you get to leave? Did you just like walk away, or how did you? Were the place you worked, were they sensitive to you, or what, accommodating, or?
Well, I was kind of on maternity, but they were going through a restructure and redundancies and things like that were happening, and a lot of the people that were there before I went on maternity were leaving. So it kind of, it almost like was it serendipitous or whatever, do you know what I mean? It kind of all worked out at the right time. Like I left on maternity and it was almost like I didn't need to go back, if you know what I mean, because it all kind of worked out that way, you know, where it was a different organisation and just not, it wouldn't be the place where I could have gone back, really, to be honest. So that kind of was okay, do you know what I mean? And that kind of worked out for the best in that sense, do you know? So it left me in kind of, you know, in a positive place in terms of moving on, do you know? And like I actually do still communicate and work with a lot of the people I worked with in my past job now as a freelancer, and also you know, previous jobs I work with a lot of people I have worked with in the past, and which is really nice actually, like, you know, and it kind of makes me realize how great some of those relationships were, you know, and I did appreciate that at the time, but now even more so, you know, because it's led to a lot of the work that I do, and like, you know, I've got a trusted network who I can bring on board for various projects. So that's been great, actually. That's been really nice. And I'm pleased I can still, you know, I've still got these positive relationships from my corporate life, you know.
Yeah. But it's an interesting how things work out like that, you know, and we can worry about things and, you know, take ages making decisions, but actually things do tend to work themselves out, don't you find?
I think that's it. And like, as I kind of get older and more kind of into the, you know, running your own business and things like that, you know, I think you kind of realise things, you know, do work out. Do you know what I mean? And like, you can, obviously you've got to kind of make your own paths and your own, you know, you've got to kind of forge your own way, but there's highs and lows. Do you know? And I think there's going with that rhythm sometimes, do you know, as opposed to fighting against it, or, you know, it's kind of follow that rhythm. And, you know, things, if you know, you've got those relationships, you're working hard, you're looking after yourself, things tend to work out. I mean, I remember like for probably the first year of being like the self-employed, first year and a half, even though I worked on some nice projects and things like that, I resented it, do you know, because I'd been forced into this situation, if you like. And it wasn't my dream goal or anything like that. And, you know, I came across all these women predominantly that were self-employed, and they were all like following the passion and following their dream and, you know, whatever. And I felt a bit of a fraud, you know, because like it not being an active kind of decision in that sense. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I really did resent it. And I think that kind of hindered probably in a way my own growth as a person, as a business, because it was almost like a reluctance to do it. Do you know what I mean? Type thing. But then there was the point, I think with the onset of COVID, actually, like the whole pandemic, that really made me think, you know, this might be in a better position than most, do you know, because I was kind of more in control than, you know, when people were kind of working for various companies and didn't know what was going on, that, you know, people were losing their jobs, and it were all kind of really scary time for a lot of people, you know, whereas I kind of felt a bit more adapted to this kind of uncertainty a little bit, just because I'd had this kind of just over a year working for myself and kind of into that space of self-employment, and you kind of get used to a little bit of the unpredictability and the kind of being a bit more adaptable. And I think that were a bit of a light bulb moment for me, really thinking, do you know what, actually maybe this was meant to be. I'm in a better position, a better place, you know. And I really appreciate, obviously, like most people, the family, the loved ones, how fortunate I was, really, you know, and grateful for, you know, I'd had work continuously since I'd launched, and, you know, there were all these positives that you kind of looked at. I think everybody did in all as careers and jobs, like, you know, what were you grateful for at that time, and things that you might have taken for granted, actually you reassessed and whatever. So at that point, I think I really did realise that, do you know what, actually I think I've got something here, do you know, and I've got something that, you know, can work around my family, and I can grow, and you can do it, you know, all these things that come into your mind. And then, that I worked through that through the whole, like, the COVID situation. And then, and it ended up then I got, last year, I grew the business in terms of, I got some, like, my staff member, and through the Kickstart scheme, which again, that was kind of a bit of a helping hand, because I don't know if I'd have, you know, employed someone totally cold without that kind of little buffer that Kickstart offered, you know, in terms of the support they did. But that kind of really helped me to kind of get into a different mindset, this growth mindset and things like that. And, you know, you meet people like, obviously, about yourself, and obviously Business Wellbeing Club, and various other people I've met over these last few years. Over the COVID time, I think it's been a kind of key point in terms of cementing some relationships and developing some relationships. And it's really meant, you know, that I've thought, you know, I really love this business. I love what I do. I love my life, you know, and like, I really want to do well in it. And I'm proud of what's been achieved for my clients and what's been achieved for the business. I think, do you know what, crack on, Vicky, you know, like, you know, and it's kind of that weight's gone from the resentment that I had from the beginning, you know.
It's a great story. And I love that, the honesty that you've got there. So what about your relationship with your kids now? You know, they made you leave your corporate after all.
Well, I actually called the company after them. I mean, BVic is a totally made-up word, and it's their initials, like Ben and Elizabeth, and obviously mine. Do you know what I mean? And so that's kind of the form part and parcel of it. Do you know? And like, Elizabeth always is saying that she wants to come work with me. Do you know? Like, all the time. You know, Mummy, can I stay at home today and help you with your business? And I think, oh God, I can't wait for the day. Do you know what I mean? And Ben's just at that point where I think he just loves, like, tapping away the computer and making a mess in the office. So he's kind of, you know, fine with all that. But I think, you know, they know that, you know, both the mum and dad, like, you know, we both kind of try and instill in them, you know, it's about working hard, and, you know, they live a very privileged life, really. Do you know what I mean? They're loved to death, and, you know, they couldn't wish for more, I don't think. And I think that they know part and parcel of that is us working and you know, being there. And like I said, working for myself, it does mean I can pick them up, do you know, like, probably more than, you know, I'm fortunate in that I do pick them up several days a week, and you know, drop them off in the morning. And you know, I'm really fortunate. I've got grandparents that look after Ben one day a week. They alternate that. So I've got a really good support network. And I do think, you know, I certainly wouldn't have been able to do what I did with Elizabeth when I just had her, because that's when I became the marketing director and whatever, without the support of my parents, who were just phenomenal in that, you know, that they were really looked after her. Because I, you know, she was only, I think, 12 months when I took that job. And, you know, really, it was 5 days a week, full time, traveling, whatever. But, you know, I don't think she missed out on anything, do you know what I mean, whatsoever. You know, she's a really rounded, beautiful, intelligent, friendly girl. And I think, you know, I'm proud of what me and Pat, you know, my husband, have done with the children, do you know, and I just hope that continues. So yeah, I think, like, it's worked out for best in that as well. You know, if I've got to go take the kids to a doctor's appointment, or, you know, they've got a performance like an assembly or whatever, I don't have any guilt, really, do you know what I mean? Because I work around that. You know, my clients don't know any difference whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? In fact, I'd probably share that as a positive thing. Do you know what I mean? But when I worked, you know, if I got a call from the nursery, or there were an event or a doctor's appointment, I literally felt sick. Do you know, like, I felt sick with worry, like, you know, I mean, maybe unnecessarily so, but like, I did used to think, oh my God, like, you know, am I going to work around that? Are they going to be mad at me? Do you know, like, it was just a really like awful feeling. And I don't know, kind of, like I say, whether it's me putting that on myself but I've spoke to other mums and I think everyone kind of has that guilt, but that's gone. Do you know, I don't have that now, do you know? So there are swings and roundabouts, as anybody self-employed knows, do you know what I mean? There's definitely things that, you know, I'm jealous of with my friends who work corporately and work for others when they can go on holiday, leave the phone, leave the laptop, literally don't think about work for 2 weeks and live the good life. I'm very jealous of that because I don't know if that's ever going to be me now. But, you know, the swings and roundabouts with it and the fact that I can do that with my children now is a real bonus for me, a real positive.
What's the long-term direction of travel for BVic Marketing then, Vicky?
I was talking about this actually with someone the other day, and I think, you know, I've been really fortunate to have some long-term clients actually that I've worked with. Some of them, you know, for nearly the whole time I've been running, and some other long-term ones, and I love that actually, you know, and I love being part of this team, you know, because I always love being part of a team, and I do feel like even though I'm outsourced support and I don't work with them full time, they see me part of their team. Do you know what I mean? And very much part of, you know, I've got to know them incredibly well, and I love that. So that part of it, you know, my aim for them is that to continue to support them and, you know, grow their businesses, help them grow their businesses and continue with that. But on the other side, obviously, it's, you know, love fight, you know, when I'm working on new clients and new projects and things. So I think it's a case of, you know, I want to make sure I can have the capacity to do what I do because I am still very much hands-on. You know, I'm not, you know, someone who just kind of, you know, does the top line stuff. I'm very much involved in my clients' businesses and the marketing and, you know, get totally involved with it, even though I've got additional resources in like as part of the team now. I still very much like to play a part of that. So I think it's a case of like looking at, right, what can resource wise we do, and do I need to bring some more people in to make sure I can service who I've got and, you know, new clients and, you know, grow the business that way. So I think that's a key thing for me to look at that this year and kind of see what goes on because, you know, like I say, it's grown year on year. I'm really happy kind of the direction it's gone, but I just want to make sure that kind of I maintain standards that I want to maintain, if you know what I mean. And then really, I think like with all people start businesses, it's about getting those processes in place and the real kind of boring stuff really, but it's not all just in your head. Do you know what I mean? Like if someone came into the business, like, you know, not getting my first member of staff, it meant, you know, I developed like the values, the mission statements, the kind of the core documents that you need for your, you know, your organization, and making sure there's processes in terms of like, you know, social media planning or market strategy development, you know, like these kind of core documents and core templates and processes that I need as part of the business, but for a long time were just in my head, if you know what I mean, or I just did it because it was just me. But obviously when you've got other people joining the business, they need to know and pick that up in a much easier way than try to unpick my brain.
Absolutely. And so what would be the one piece of advice, Vicky, that you'd give somebody who's just thinking about starting out on their own?
I think I definitely say just take on the feelings of worry and all that. That's fine. I mean, it's totally normal. But I think it would definitely be a case of go with it if that's going to fit for you best. And like, I think a lot of people do have a gut feeling that this is the path they're going to end up taking. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they're happy in the job, or, you know, they've got a side hustle that they really just want to develop themselves. And I think if you've got that feeling, there's a reason, if you know what I mean? Like, you know, and, you know, kind of like mine probably was in my gut. I knew to have something that serviced my family, do you know what I mean, and serviced me. That was the route to take, do you know what I mean? And I think you've just got to go with your gut. But I think get your network sorted. I mean, that was essential for me, do you know, like having a support network, because it's incredibly isolating, do you know, and you go from having a team or, you know, going into an office where you see multiple people every day to literally you. Do you know, it can just be you for hours on end, do you know what I mean? And that is really lonely, and I hated that, you know, like that was awful, you know. And I had really, you know, great support from family and friends, do you know what I mean, that I could ring, but it's different when you work for yourself, and not very many of them did, do you know. So it's kind of there was that little bit of lack of understanding or empathy that they could genuinely give. So for me it was like finding my own network, you know, like to kind of have people who I could ring or, you know, chat to every day. And I've got like people now I will speak to regularly who are like associates or just past people who are, members of networking groups and things like that. And I work together, I collaborate with people on projects. It means I'm, expanding that way. So I think that would be a really key piece of advice, actually, is get your support network and know that you're not alone. You are really, really not, even though it feels very isolating. Yeah. It's just finding those people that can help you through that process and develop your business and yourself.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely speaking with you. Thank you for sharing the story.
Thanks, Raj.
In our conversation, Vicky talked about how a support network was so helpful for her in the early days, and her advice for people thinking about going self-employed is warning you, I guess, that it's lonely setting up in business. So the change from being in a busy office to being in your own, whether that's at home or in your own office, is a big step to take, and how important it is to build a support network around you. And I would like to, I guess, shamelessly promote a support network that I'm a member of. I found it actually during the pandemic, the early days of the pandemic in May 2020, which is called the Business Wellbeing Club. And it's an online supportive network. So we meet online. And although people now are wanting to meet in person, it's good sometimes just to be online because it makes it so much easier to meet. We have people from all over joining us, and it makes it more accessible to a wider range of people. But it's a great support network, and it's built on really strong values. And during our conversation with Vicky, her values come out really strongly. She knows that she's all about servicing her family. So family values are very strong motivation for lots of people in business. But the Business Wellbeing Club is based on strong values of collaboration, wanting to support each other, wanting to have fun, because, hey, what's fun gets done. And if it's not fun, why are we doing it? It's about having an abundant mindset, about wanting to give as well as to receive, about knowing that we need to learn. If we want to grow our business, we want to grow ourselves, and the easiest way to grow ourselves is to learn new stuff. This online group, we meet every other Thursday from 12:30 till 2. All you need to do is hop onto Zoom, so you don't have to go anywhere. You just join in, and it's a really great community. We help each other, we look out for each other, we are very abundant with each other. And so I would invite anybody listening who would like to visit us to find out more about how it works, just to get in touch or go online. It's businesswellbeing.club. And there are other networks around, of course, so there's a whole host. But find your own support network that suits you, that fits your values, where you feel able to be yourself, because authenticity is crucial, and one that will allow you to have fun, of course. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to our show today. This is Ros Jones, Bold Business Bits, and I would love it if you could subscribe to our show, share it with your friends and networks, and I look forward to speaking with you next time. Bye for now. This has been your Ros Jones Bold Business Bits podcast show. If you'd like any further information about anything we've discussed today, please just get in touch. Go to businesscoachingyorkshire.co.uk. Please join me again next week when I'll be speaking with another phenomenal female business boss with bold business bits. And remember to subscribe to my show. Thanks for listening.